I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, as you guys know, I often talk about the two worlds of condos. Let's talk about in downtown Vancouver or Kitsilano, Mount Pleasant, in and around the downtown core. I often talk about, I see on the news all the time here and by these amateur real estate doom and gloomers that will talk about, oh, condo inventory, it's building, nothing is selling. Condo inventory is at a 2-year high and try and paint a picture that the market is in free fall and it's crashing, when I will tell you guys unequivocally it's not. And I often say that talk about the two worlds of condos. There's the real good high quality stuff that I'm continuously getting my clients into, and then there's a lot of what I kind of refer to as, I kind of talk some of them about being just dog units, which there's a lot of those. And then there's that kind of homogenous zone there where, hey, it's okay, but so much of it depends on the buyer. It could make a good buy for a certain buyer, but for another one, no. Why waste your time with it? It's not good, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So much of it depends on the buyer. First off, I'll give you an example here. I've got a client right now who I've worked with in the past. He is a full-on tradesman, and he's looking now for a downtown Vancouver condo or perhaps West Side, Kitsilano area. And for him, I'm now focusing, because he can do everything. He's a jack of all trades, this guy. He can do drywall and tile work and some plumbing and electrical work. He's certified tradesman. So for him, we are focusing on maybe an older condo, either downtown concrete tower, or maybe even something, an older, little bit bigger wood frame out in an area like Kitsilano or Dunbar. But we're looking for something here that's pretty beaten up, original, as long as the strata is good. As long as the strata is in fairly good order, the unit can be a total disaster. Actually, the more of a disaster it is, the better, because my particular client can gut the thing, do all the work himself, basically, so it doesn't cost him anything for labor, and that's probably 50% of the cost on doing a reno. All it's going to cost him is material, and even on that he has some connections and can get some deals. So this is where the value is for him. He can buy it, fix it up, do a full 3 or 4 month reno on it at fairly reasonable cost because he's doing it himself. As long as the strata is good, hey, it could be a fantastic buy. For other buyers, though, that are looking for something like this and have to do the reno themselves, it's expensive. They've got to pay for the labor, the permits, which this guy also knows how to streamline a lot of that. That unit would be out for a lot of those people. But let me just kind of give you some rough ideas about what I mean by the two worlds of condos. And I can tell you that the high quality condos in Vancouver and Kitsilano and Mount Pleasant, that market is still, as I speak right now, going into December here, is a strong seller's market. Very little for sale. I would love for some of these guys that are saying that the condo market is, inventory is all over the place, it's huge, and all these condos and none of them selling. Send me some of these condos you think are such fantastic buys and the sky is falling. I guarantee they won't be able to send me anything, because I've always got buyers, and it is a waiting game on a lot of these good stratas. Although again, it depends on the buyer I'm working with and what we're looking for. With the renovator guy, it is a much different market I'm looking at for him than it is for, say, an investor, a guy that calls me and says, Owen, I want to get a good quality 1-bedroom condo downtown. I'm going to put a tenant in and keep it. My budget is $650, $675. On those, I'll tell you right now, for the good stratas I like to get him into, it's a bit of a waiting game. So totally different. Here are the things that you want to look at when you're buying a condo. And again, it's all over the road here with your particular buyer. The first thing is location. Location is key. Now again, this depends on whether it's a principal residence buyer that's going to move into it or it's an investor. When it's an investor, we can lean a little bit, be a little more lenient on the location. If it's a principal residence buyer, for instance, who gets up early, goes to bed early, then location is going to be key for these people, because they're going to need something with a little bit quieter location, not on a busy intersection or a busy street. Maybe a unit that's in the back of the building facing the alley as opposed to the front street. But location is so prime. It's the golden rule of real estate: location, location, location. The ones I don't like that I often talk about are some of these remnant lots that have been built in the last 5 or 6 years. These were kind of leftover, odd lots that are mostly hugging up on bridges, noisy. The big thing that happens with a lot of these ones that they don't realize until you get into it is the accessibility on these units. You've only got one entrance. It's a one-way street. You miss the entrance for the pizza guy, and he's got to go loop around for another 5 minutes to get back into it. These are things that people forget about and maybe look past when they only look at it once or twice at an open house. So location, location, location is the big one. The other thing you want to look at is the strata. That is the thing that you're buying here. You're buying into a strata corporation, and all stratas are not created equal, just like all realtors are not created equal. There are incredibly well-run, proactive stratas in downtown Vancouver and Kitts and Mount Pleasant. And then there's also some stratas that are not well run. It's a combination of things. Maybe the building is made up of 80% investors. There's not a lot of principal resident owners in the building. Hard to get anyone on strata council, hard to get anyone to volunteer. Sometimes it's the management company they're using. I tell you, I'll have to do another blog. I've talked about it a few times on management companies, property managers. Again, they are all over the road too. Not only the company, but also the individual property manager. There's some fantastic ones out there. And then it's a revolving door, as you guys that live in condos probably know. These property managers come and go. They last 6 months or a year and then move on or get out of the business. Property management job is a tough job. I feel for some of these property managers because their workload is huge. They just pile on. Many of these property managers are overseeing 10, 15, 20, 30 stratas. It's not just your building or 3 or 4 others they're managing. They've got a portfolio of 30 buildings, some of these guys. So that makes a huge difference too. The management company and then who your property manager is, and the makeup of the owners. I'll give you an example of the strata that I'm in. My strata is incredibly well run. And one of the reasons is I'm in a fairly high-end building here. It's mostly made up of 2-bedroom units. My building is probably 95% owner occupied. They do allow rentals in my building up to 10. There's 100 units. I think there's like 6 that are rented. So it's almost all owner occupiers. Pretty well-heeled owner base in here. The other nice thing with my building, the makeup, the demographic is a little bit older in my building. I've got owners in here that have been in this building for 20, 25 years, some of them. A lot of them are retired professionals, retired lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs. And it's fantastic because a lot of them have the time and they volunteered for Strata. We've got a fantastic president, a fantastic vice president in my building, the treasurer, the member at large. They're great. They've got the time. They put the time in to manage this building. For instance, if we need a new boiler, they're not just taking the first quote. They generally will shop it around. Property management companies, since I've lived in this building, we've had 3, and we've fired a couple of them. And we've also fired a couple of the property managers. They just were not happy with the service, and they canned them. And that's the kind of things you want to see from a strata. And some of this, you've got to ask, your realtor has to ask questions. And that's the thing, when you're hiring a realtor for this, hopefully your realtor knows about a lot of these stratas. I do, I don't know all of them, but you're also going to pick up a lot of this in the minutes. How have they fired the property manager? What is going on? Read the president's annual report every year, because they'll talk a lot about that stuff. So the strata corporation you're buying into is critical. Do your homework on this. And that's the final thing I'll say is that's what you're hiring your realtor for. I'll get people on my YouTube channel here, and I've had a few people that came on here and, thankfully answered the questions for me. They'll always want to know, Owen, give us your list of preferred stratas. Listen, I'm not going to do that. You have to be a client of mine. I'm happy to give you the general idea of what to look for in a good strata, the location, the property management company, read all the docs, do your homework. But the big thing is hire a realtor that knows the downtown or knows the Vancouver market. If you want to buy a condo in Vancouver, if it's an investment unit or a principal residence, you better hire a Vancouver expert, a realtor that sells a lot of downtown condos and knows a lot of the stratas. They're not going to know all of them, but from there, you're going to want to get all the documents, the minutes. You're going to want your realtor to make some phone calls. You're going to want to read the depreciation reports. You're going to want to try to get a home inspection. You should be able to in this market. Just offhand, I know of some strata. I see stuff sold all the time in some of these buildings that I have to wonder that, I don't know, they obviously did not spend a whole lot of time reading the documents or getting a home inspection, because if they did, I don't think they would have bought these units. I know of a unit, a strata in Richmond, that if you've been around Richmond or you've been a realtor in the business as long as I have, you know about this particular complex. And I can tell you it's being held together with baling wire and tape. About 15 years ago, it was a leaky condo. Instead of paying the money to get it done, they kind of swept it under the rug. And their solution, if you can believe this, was to paint the exterior stucco with a rubberized paint. I think it's made by 3M. And they've buried these reports back, you have to go back 12 or 15 years. And unfortunately, I think in a lot of cases, it's been buried back so far that you don't know. However, I think if you hired an experienced inspector, they should pick this stuff up. Once you start seeing rubberized paint painted over everything, that should bring some warning signs. Yet I still continue, I don't really follow it that close, but every now and again I'll see something sold in this complex and I think, God, not a good buy, not a good purchase there. So you got to do your homework. You got to trust your realtor on this. And again, I'm not going to give you guys a list of all the preferred stratas. This is something that I've taken me a decade to come up with. And I don't know all the stratas. Downtown Vancouver, I've got probably 20 or 25 stratas that I like. I continuously sell into them. There's a whole bunch more that I like as well, but it depends too on the situation. Because again, some buyers might need a certain area. They work a block away, or they have friends and family or in an area, or maybe they need proximity to a dog walk. So in some cases, a building which maybe isn't on my A list can still be suitable for them if we get it at the right price. So you've got to trust your realtor. And if you're not certain about your realtor knowing enough about the downtown core, well then, you might want to reevaluate who you're going to work with. It's buying a home is probably going to be the biggest financial decision you make. So you want to make sure that, you trust the realtor that's working with you, who has a good working knowledge of the stratas and can help get you into a good strata and negotiate it at the right price. But final thing here is, again, there's lots of good preferred stratas I like, and then there's a second tier that I also like that might be suitable for a certain buyer. It depends. The location, they need that area, or maybe it's an older strata, 20, 22 years old, the unit needs a full reno. That might not be great for my investor guy who can't do the renos on his own, but it might be perfect for a guy who is going to buy it, fix it up, and move into it. So it all comes down to your realtor, hiring the right realtor who's an expert in that area. Hope this helps. As always, I'm Owen Bigland. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.